After editing the audio tracks from hundreds of videos for YouTube, for podcasts, for online courses, and for sales pages and opt-in pages, I discovered for myself that I was essentially running the same effects over and over again, regardless of what microphone was used to record the audio or what sort of voice was being used. So I started to wonder to myself, wouldn't it be great if there was a cheat code for Audacity, or a way that I could just program Audacity to do all of the effects for me just with one click of a button? And it turns out that such a cheat code does exist. I'm going to show it to you right now. It's called macros. Right, so we've got our processed audio right here. So I've already exported this one, so I'm just going to get rid of it and re-import the original audio just so we can see what we're working with from the beginning here. That's the one. Great. So I already have created the macro that I want to use for this audio track. But unfortunately, this Amplify effect doesn't work with the macro. So I still have to run the Amplify effect. And the reason why is because when I'm running my Amplify effect, I'm increasing the peak audio to 0, but that means it could be any amount of amplification depending on what the audio track itself looks like when it comes in. If it's very loud when it comes in, it might even turn it down to get to 0 instead of up. But because of that, I can't program that into the macro. So let's go ahead and apply the amplification. But after that, I can just go ahead and apply the macro. I've already programmed it, podcast 1, and with one click, away it goes. Just like magic, it's already doing the noise reduction and applying the filter curve, the graphic EQ, there it goes, and the compressor, and the noise gate, and the limiter. Done. And now we can listen to it.
Do you know that feeling when your heart closes out of fear of pain or disappointment with life itself?
And it sounds great. So how did we do that? Let's take a look at the macro manager. And there's podcast 1. And here's all the commands in order on podcast 1. And I'm going to make this. Here's something cool about macros. You can export macros, you can import macros, and you can do all of the normal editing commands to them. So what I'm going to do just for you is I'm going to give you this file as a text file. There will be a link in the description to this text file, podcast 1, and you'll be able to download podcast 1 to your computer and run it as a macro. And the way you would do that is just like this. I'm going to export it. Great. And that's the one. And then I'm going to remove it. Okay, now I'm going to import it. And this is what you're going to do when you get the file. You're going to click on Import Podcast 1. And there's Podcast 1 in my list of macros. And there's all the steps. If you want to change some of the settings or anything that you want to change on here, the first command is select. What this is doing is, let's edit. And so it's selecting the first 1 second of the audio file from the project start. So what does that mean? Well, it's taking about that much. Then the next step is the noise reduction. And in noise reduction, it's just taking the get noise profile. Then it's selecting the entire track and we edit. And there's our settings. Great. So it runs noise reduction, then it's select all again, and it runs the filter curve EQ. This is the bass boost. And you can kind of see the settings there, but it shows them graphically if you want to edit them. So when you're editing these steps, it's the same as when you're running the steps. And so it goes through, there's the graphic EQ. This one's long. It's got a number for each one of those sliders. So it's showing all of the settings that were in that graphic EQ. If you remember what that looked like, there's a number for each one of these. Then we run the compressor right here. And if we click on edit, we can see the settings that it's using. And then there's noise gate. And again, we can just see the settings. We can modify them. So if you want to change anything, I'll just change the noise gate to -29. When I change the noise gate to -29 and I apply it, then I just have to click save to keep that setting. Now I save it. And then I can close that. I can reopen it. And when I go to noise gate, there's my -29 setting in that macro. Now, if I export this macro, it'll export a file named podcast1. I'll just show you the file, which is right here. It's a text file. It just looks like this. This big long part here, this is that graphic EQ. All this here is just from that graphic EQ. Then there's the compressor, there's the noise gate, there's the legacy limiter. So it just puts the instructions for Audacity into a text file for you. And using this editor to create the macro, you can set up any set of steps. And remember, there's hundreds of effects that are available here for you. This one is the end, but if I wanted to add one more step here right at the end, I would just insert it above the end one. And now we can see all the different, you know what we could do? We could do our ACX check at the end. So let's do that. I push save, I close it, I go up here and I undo apply podcast. This will undo all those effects that I did. And when it undoes all the effects that I did, it's still amplified because I did amplify separately. But there, this is the original track that we started with. And I could just run Amplify and run the macro. And I apply podcast 1. And this time, when it's done, we should have that ACX check window come up at the end for us. And there's the ACX check window telling us that we have the -3 decibel level, the RMS level, the noise floor warning, and then reminding us that we need 44,100 hertz sample rate. Excellent. So here's the cheat code. Real simple. You go down to the link in the description of this video that says link to podcast 1. You download the podcast 1 file onto your hard drive into your downloads folder or wherever you want it to be. It's just a text file. There's nothing dangerous about it or anything like that. And if you have software that scans different kinds of files and things like that, you'll find that it's very safe. Then you go to macros, import podcast 1, and open it. And then it's showing here that the macro already exists. Well, this macro is the one that I changed. So I'm going to change it back by saying, yes, I want to change it. And then there, the ACX check is gone. And also the noise gate here should be at 30. There you go, -30. So that macro, podcast 1, is all yours for free to make your Audacity experience even better.